to you to join the conversation via online stream or on our YouTube channel. Do well to remember that you have to exercise civility in expressing your thoughts and opinions in reaction to these stories. Now, joining us virtually this morning from the nation's capital is Dr. Aliyu Ilias, who would also partake in this conversation as we look to expand our focus. Now, if the connection is well established, let's see if we can now join Dr. Ilias. Hello, Doctor. Good morning to you, sir.
No, good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for taking our time to join us on the program this morning. Let's start from the most viral moments that took the most part of yesterday. The committee looked to receive Senator Natasha's petition, but it was overtaken by drama. A clash between the former Minister of Solid Minerals, who also served as Minister of Education at some point, and Senator Nwaebonyi. And it was quite dramatic in some sorts. Words flew over the table, but overarchingly, the committee indefinitely suspended hearing. Let's get your thoughts on the events that we saw yesterday.
Right. I think it's becoming Natasha Gate everywhere. We were thinking the case will be rest by now, but I will discover that it's getting much more attraction. So on the first, the issue of recalling Natasha, you agree with me that the process is not a child's play. It's a long process. Having secure, according to the petitioner, they have secure people's signature to recall Natasha. Getting to INEC have to review it. And right from mindset, some of us have actually seen that this is not as easy as they think it is. So by the time it got to them, they discovered that those people they actually put their numbers are supposed to be phone numbers so that they can actually put uh, physical engagement to it to confirm if there are real people there. It was not confirmed. And secondly, you recall that people that even voted Natasha in, I'm not sure they're up to 120,000. And people that actually sign petition is about 250,000. So I don't know how that will actually add up. I think that's how that one went. So I think they have put it to rest, and the INEC has not closed the window. INEC only say they should go back and do the needful. Anytime they do the needful, they are ready to go ahead in terms of recalling Natasha if the people of the constituent actually want it. Then we also see the issue that the National Assembly. You recall that the Committee on Ethics have actually received a kind of petition from Senator Natasha, but they said they are not. It's not in compliance with their processes. I think she now went back and put up another one. So having put another one, they actually came to actually defend what they put. They said they should swear an oath to actually confirm that the one that submitted it. And there was a back and forth. But what we actually saw was the part of Senator Nwaebonyi and former Minister of Education. And it was a serious drama. Well, for me, as ordinary, as a Nigerian rather, I was thinking both of them should have exercised much more maturity because at that point in time, at that level, I don't think there should be serious foot back, and that has actually put a stop to what they're actually doing. So for me, the Minister of Education would have exercised more patience to accept to allow the process to move. Why I also caution the senator, you don't see your position as a to grandstand with. Why the madam should not say a position to grandstand with. When it's in the front of law, you are supposed to respect the presiding officer. I think inability to respect the presiding officer is what actually brought about that argument yesterday.
Well, Dr. Aliyu, what does this do for the image of one, the senator in question, and then secondly, with the issue at hand, which is the sexual harassment case, which every party is trying to resolve at the moment, and then we have something like this coming up. A lot of people have argued that in as much as the former education minister had triggered him by asking the senator to shut up, he slightly overreacted by going a little bit overboard because he went on a very long rant, and he called her unprintable names right there at the committee. What are your thoughts exactly? What do you think this does for the image of the Senate in general?
Well, it's gladding that you reputable medias have actually called two of them and we have listened to them. And I think Madam Minister, former minister, have actually agreed that she told the minister to shut up. And the minister said she even went beyond shut up and called him hooligan. Now, if you look at that statement, it is uncalled for, it's unwarranted even from the minister because we have a presiding officer who would have taken charge of that. So the case simply means that those that came to defend Natasha have their own mind why they are coming as well because they are saying that they don't even have trust in the presiding officer. They are saying that they should be, he shouldn't sit on that seat to actually look into it. So for me, I think the former minister wouldn't have started by saying shut up. She doesn't have even let's even say the person is not a senator. You don't tell people to shut up in a panel. It is not in your right to tell people to shut up. However, for the senator, senator actually said he doesn't have a choice than to actually rebuff that statement that you can't come to the chamber and tell a senator of the National Assembly or Federal Republic of Nigeria rather to shut up. So I think the two of them should have their caution. It's not only one side. I think it's two of them because if the minister did not provoke
The
the
senator.
senator, he
Yeah.
wouldn't have talked. And by the time he replied, the woman picked an offense. So it's a serious back and forth.
But going forward, do you
And
think
on the
that
issue of sexual harassment,
yeah? Carry on, please.
I'm listening.
Yeah.
Going forward, right? And on the issue of sexual harassment, I think we need a political solution at this point in time because what is happening is unwarranted and it's going to dirty us the more. So I think there should be a political solution. People that Natasha can listen to should call her to discuss with her. You also see that in the case of the Senate president too, he also said the judge he doesn't have confidence in that judge, and that judge has actually recused herself, yeah, himself rather. So I think it's a serious issue that need political solution. These people are good friend and colleague before. I think we can still look for a solution so that they can both be together.
Well, I was going to ask that going forward, do you think that maybe there could have been any way that the senator representing Ebonyi, South Senatorial District, that's talking about Senator Onyekachi Nwaebonyi, could have done? Is there anything he could have done differently rather than the outburst he had yesterday? Via certain means or channels of ensuring that the words of the former minister are taken seriously and addressed as insulting to him.
Right. We have there's limit to human easy endurance, I should say. At that point in time, according to him, he said they couldn't hold it because if you don't give her back, it will just go like that. You remember, they're in front of media and, he couldn't hold it. But for me, maturity speak. Two of them actually perhaps did not work with their maturity as at yesterday. I think he should have also muster it, endure it to an extent, not bringing out that level of outburst. But imagine if he did not reply and the woman continue to rain on her. So it's a two-way thing that we should caution both of them. I don't think I will align that, because we are actually looking for women and their rights, that men rights should also be tampered with. So I think two of them should be cautioned.
Okay.
Well, hopefully we'd have Senator Nwaebonyi join us at 9 a.m. as we'll get more insights from the horse's mouth, and we urge our viewers to stay with us as we delve into that conversation. But still staying with the National Assembly, let's leave the controversies of the Senate and come to some of the legislative interventions in the Green Chambers. Yesterday, we got more reports on over 40 bills looking to tend to the conversations on constitution review. Whilst these bills have scaled second reading, more scrutiny greeting the bills that are recommending a single day for the conduct of general elections in Nigeria. Dr. Ali will talk us through this. We've seen the issues with late deployment of electoral materials, lateness in delivering them, and even when elections somewhat spill over, collation goes into the wee hours of the night. Talk us through this conversations on constitution review and the proposal at hand.
Right. I think severally I've have the opportunity of monitoring the election. So I can tell you firsthand what happened on election day. So first and foremost, I think it's a good idea because we must look at that from economic part of view. Economically, that should have been the best to happen to Nigeria.
In
But there
terms
are
of
two
cutting down the
questions. Are
costs,
we
when you say good economic,
Yes, I'm talking about yes, it's actually economically it makes sense economically. It reduce the cost of conducting off-cycle election, separate election. Reduce a lot. But there are two side challenge that we have. One, do we have the logistics ability? That's number one. Do we have logistic ability? Then number two, is INEC actually ready for that? Now, when we talk about logistics, I've been to a polling booth waiting for material. We don't get material on time. So what will happen in such? That spill over to second day? If we cannot achieve it second day, will that spill to third? That's the questions. Now, if you look at the logistics itself, I think the largest department for in INEC should be supply chain or logistics, and we are not able to have it working effectively. So for we to achieve that, I think National Assembly during the public hearing, we are going to suggest as well that they should unbundle INEC in that case. So if you unbundle INEC, we will now have separate people, INEC doing the logistics, separate INEC doing the collation. Perhaps that would help to actually achieve that. That's a serious issue. Now let's now look at the effect. Sort of. Remember, in our election today, I think we used to have presidential first, then it goes down like that. I have a very large reservation for that. And why? I think we should start with that local government, state governor, honorable, House of Rep and what have you. Maybe local government would have gone with state assembly simply because we will not have what you can term a bandwagon. Because once you have president from a particular party, there's that spiral effect that actually trickle down to others. So let's also go back to 1999. I think maybe local government and governor and what have you used to be one day before, but because of a lot of issues, remember local government is for 3 years, while other positions is for 4 years. So there's no way they will not do before and other. But I think if we can have it the same day, in fact, it will even enable other political parties. You know why? Governor will be concerned with his own ability to win, while the local government will also be struggling. So governor will not have effects, on local government that this is the person I want, this person I don't want. It will not. If you have noticed, even some governor will be on their toe, looking to sort how they get to win. So I think it's a good one, but I don't think we are ready for that. And if we are ready for that, let us unbundle
Well,
INEC for effective
well,
use.
well, Dr. Aliyu, what would you say about special seats being assigned for physically challenged persons, especially in key political offices? Are you subscribing to this line of thoughts, also in line with the constitution review that is on the way?
Well, for me, in this world, let me say this before I will say uh my view.
Okay.
No one is promised no one God promised that will leave this world physically okay.
Yeah.
Physically challenge can come to anyone. It could be through accident, it could be through, may God keep us well. However, I don't think there is even need for that. When there is justice and proper uh how do I call it, proper environment for everybody to operate, because that someone is physically challenged does not stop him from being able to carry out some activities. It depends. It's only because our election have been monetized, our election have been skewed towards godfatherism. If it's where everybody have a level playing ground, someone that is physically challenged could even have more audience with people than people that are physically are okay. And I can tell you, we have lawyers that are physically challenged. We have medical doctors that are physically challenged. We have other that are physically challenged. It's because of our society that we find a way of discriminating some people towards a lot of things. We can have them level by level playing with others without separating our seat for them. Because with time now, we start when we achieve that, we'll start doing other level as well. And now we are even looking for affirmation for our women. So these are the things that we need to actually look at. They deserve be to be in any position that every other person can be.
Well, a lot of I'm glad you mentioned women in your comments. The debate and the argument is around the fact that women don't really need to be handed these positions as if some sort of philanthropic work by most of the men in positions of power in the Nigerian society. However, they should be allowed to actively participate, create a level playing ground that they can contest and vie for political offices and win these elections without necessarily feeling like it was just handed over to them because they are women. Your thoughts?
Yeah, right. Well, for women case, it's a two different thing. Culturally, as an African person,
Yeah.
we tend to push them back a bit, because of the culture
Now,
and
now,
what
now,
have
now
you. We
that
expect them.
that's where the big problem is. You just said you would like,
Right.
as an African cultural person, you would like to push them back a bit. That is that is what women have been fighting for and against for a very long
Right.
time, and that is where my question is tilted
Right.
towards.
Let me tell you this. There was an interview that was going on. So someone came to me and said he want to interview me on gender equality.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry, I cannot attend that interview. He said, why? I said, well, I'm so sorry. I believe in equity than equality. So because of that, I cannot grant your interview. We say why? I said, yes, if we are in political party and we said you need to pay 1 million naira to buy form. We can say women pay 500,000. If there is any position, I believe we should go with equity where we give them opportunity to actually come aboard because they have actually are proving to be better in position some level. We have seen the Okonjo Iweala, we have seen Aisha Mohammed, we have even seen Obi Ezekwesili. We have seen all of them. We have also seen some of them that actually failed. We should also put it in that area. So it does not mean by gender. It means your disposition to actually perform. So if you want to give them affirmation, well, I would like to be part because I have my wife is a woman, my mother is a woman. I definitely have a younger sisters
certainly,
and
Dr.
elder.
Aliyu, your wife couldn't have been a man now. On a lighter note.
So it's not bad to give them position. Let them give them some level of position. Because look at it in National Assembly now.
Yeah.
I think among our 109 senators, we have only 4. So we need to at least up that opportunity for them.
Let's talk about constitution review with regards to electoral amendments or the Electoral Act amendment. A lot of persons have called for two things amongst many. One, diaspora voting. Two, independent candidacy, which both have proven to be a bottleneck in the electoral reforms that have taken place in the country over time. What are your thoughts on these two perspectives, and do you think that as part of the constitution review we might be seeing this happening anytime soon?
But let's look at electoral voting first. Well, I think what we should push
Diaspora
for
voting.
more is more. Yes, I think we should push for more technology in our voting system. So until we get it right at home first, before we can actually give room for diaspora. But in as much as they are Nigerians and they deserve to vote, perhaps they will go to our consular anywhere, or how do you call it, our ambassador and what have you, embassy rather, and actually put up their vote. But until we are sure that it's going to be electoral, through what do we call it, electronic voting, that's when we can be sure. Because when you are voting there, there's a lot of dashboard that will be recording it. But when we actually said they should vote with the way we are voting in Nigeria, it is going to be skewed towards someone who actually aid and supports them to go to that place. So I think it's a good one. Other countries are practicing it, but we need to actually look at it.
Is it impossible to inculcate electronic voting in this process. I mean, it could be done live. Other countries have been doing it. As you're voting, it
It is not.
registers. Everybody is seeing it. There's an interface that you can keep up with the level of voting. This would also reduce to a very large extent human interference, human error, and the possibility of rigging or some sort of foul play in the system. Don't you share the same thoughts?
Right. I think it's not in rocket science. It is possible, and it's an old technology itself to an extent. It's not a new thing. But what I'm actually saying is that we should have the electronic voting ready first. You don't put the cart before the. What I'm saying is that make that possible first. Put up the structure, put up the infrastructure. We can even say, okay, we're going to do electoral voting in next two elections. Maybe after 2031. So from now, we started putting up the infrastructure. I think that is the main thing I'm actually looking at. What was the second question?
Well, I was talking about independent candidacy in
Right.
elections.
Yeah, I think we have to go ahead to test it, because the way things are going now, if you look at what happened in Labour Party, you discover that most time uh, independent candidates would have solved a lot of problems. Do you know that if there's independent candidates, people like Peter Obi wouldn't have go to Labour Party at all. They would have want to be alone, and would have also tested during Muhammadu Buhari. Remember, Muhammadu Buhari, be it any party, will command 12 million votes as of then, until he has to like come to APC before he can achieve what he wants. So what I'm trying to say is that independent candidates will even bring much more competition, because some political party have their structure, and that structure are failing us. Political party have a structure that will tell you that these are conditions you must actually meet. Perhaps we are people's candidates. Let's even look at this from local government. Governors and people that have interest, stakeholders will be bent on a particular person who is going to say yes sir to them, who's going to be their stooge. Why the local government itself have a particular person they actually believe it is going to solve their problem, but it doesn't have a party to pitch his tent. These are the problem why we need independent candidates. I think that would have helped to solve a lot of the problem of godfatherism, problem of structural problem,
Yeah.
even form. Some people may not. We have seen somebody who won was it Kaduna? Is an Okada rider, right? He's an Okada rider, and that's what commercial Okada rider. I don't know how to put it better, but he joined a non-popular political party, Labour Party in his area, and become a House of Rep. It's in a House of Rep now. Though he have, according to what we get to know, he has also jumped ship now. But what I'm just trying to say is that it's more of like independent candidate. If there's room for independent candidate, you would even look at the Labour Party would have gone its own. So I think it's a welcome idea if we can go to that. If we really want development, it's a good way to go.
Now, Doctor, let's also talk about the electoral umpire INEC. Unbundling INEC, amongst the bills proposed on the floor of the Green Chambers was a bill to take away the function of regulating political parties from INEC, thereby constituting a political parties regulatory commission. What do you make of this bill as proposed on the floor of the House?
Well, in as much as I'm in the support of unbundling INEC, because it appears the work is getting too much for them, and they are not as a supply chain expert. I've seen their flaws when it's come to logistics, and it's not a good one for us. We would have moved beyond all this level. But they said they want to push out the regulatory. I don't know what constitutes regulatory they mean, but I think it should go beyond beyond. Like I said earlier, if one of them is conducting the party, the election itself, one can man the logistics. It's a welcome idea. We have a very big country, and we have a lot of people that want to cast their vote. So I think it's important we unbundle it. It's a welcome idea.
Now, and away from this issue, let's speak on another issue in the news, but still staying with the legislative interventions of the House of Representatives. It's on the consideration of the appeal court as the final arbiter for Guba election petitions. In recent times, what characterizes the conclusion of Guba elections is the beginning of petitions more or less the logical way to express disgruntlement over any perceived irregularities during the election? But often at times we see these issues find their way to the Supreme Court. Do you think that this will be a good step in streamlining the process of election petitions in Nigeria?
Well, I think in as much as I will say it's a good one, I also have some reservation for it. You know that from tribunal to appeal court. My question is that we have seen cases that get to appeal courts, and what court actually agreed on was not what the Supreme Court actually agreed on. So that simply means there's a gap that needs to be. In as much as a lot of cases are suffering because of election. And I can tell you, you see that when it comes to electoral issue, courts will be speed. There'll be a speed in getting it to Supreme Court. But when it comes to other cases, you can do one case for 4, 5 years, 7 years, as the case may be. So I think it's a good one, but are we sure that our jury will be doing the right thing, that it will need for appeal? Because, once you say everything should die at appeal court, that simply means you have denied them of taking it higher. Taking it higher actually cost us, and it also labor. It also engage judges to be in other. Deny them from taking care of other cases. It's a good idea, but they must ensure that the right thing is done at the level of tribunal and at the level of appeal court. That is going to be the last level of it.
Well, in the case of certain gubernatorial elections where you'd find the aggrieved party or the party that lost in the elections going to an election petition tribunal, and then the governor takes over and then starts handling the affairs of the state for a year or even more before the ruling is overturned. In such instances, what does this do for the trust that people have, especially in the electoral process? Because I've said this here on this program, and I think I've asked you this question before. Some persons have said that instead of going to the polls, it might have even been better for them to just go to the court, and then the petition tribunal will be the one to determine who is the governor, who will,
Absolutely, because court is becoming the final arbiter of our election now.
Yeah.
So everybody will say go to court. After any election, say go to court. And when they say go to court, those people have their confidence that when they get to court, they find it resolved. I think the solution is that every court case must be finished before handing over office to any person. I think that would have solved the problem. It will reduce distraction. I recall the governor, my state governor, Usman Ododo. Every time people go to him before, during when the case was in court, he will say, "Please wait until we finish at the court before I can actually do A, B, and C." It's a serious distraction for them. But ab initio, if the case is solved before they actually
Hello, Dr. Aliyu.
back, and maybe at the end of the day, and at the end of the day, we have seen one that was upturned. So I think the best thing is that finish every court case before you hand over office
We
to
have
any
seen
new.
we have seen
elected
situations where the election results were upturned at the election petition tribunal. However, with this suggestion that you have made, Dr. Aliyu, within that period where the case is yet to be ascertained, what happens to the governance of the state? Who should it be relegated to or delegated to in this case? Is it the outgoing governor, or in the case of a sole administrator being appointed to handle the affairs of the state in the meantime?
I don't think there's lacuna. There's no law gap in that. All we just need to do is that we do our election 3 months to the person before the person will assume office. 3 months.
That's
If
a
it's
better
3
and a
months,
more viable option.
right? So if 3 months before election and the result comes out 3 months, so anybody that wants to go to court, and there's a stipulated date you must go to court. If it exceeds that date, you cannot go to court again. That's how it is now. So if you didn't go to court maybe next 10 days after the election, you cannot go again. So if you had gone maybe 8 days after election, they will say the first hearing. I think it's there in some of our. We have a good law. Implementing is a problem. They will say you must take it to court so period, and they will say tribunal must hear it between so period, and it must get to appeal court, and appeal court must give judgment a week or 2 weeks before the swearing in. It's as simple as that. It's only our judicial system that will have to work. Perhaps since we have electoral tribunal, I think it's okay. It's what they can actually speed.
Well, away from this issue, let's see if we can manage the 20 minutes remaining in this conversation as we go to Rivers State. Now, we listened to the Commissioner of Police, CP Olugbenga, yesterday as he was briefing press men in Rivers on a joint security operation, in his words, which foiled another attempt to bomb pipelines in Rivers State. I don't know if you caught up with this press briefing or care to react to this story making the rounds.
Right. I don't see her bombing. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but I don't see the bombing stopping now, because there's a lot of interest. It could be from any of the camp. Remember, Nigeria is a game where sometimes people are actually committing some atrocities so that a particular person will look bad in the society. People are committing some atrocities so that first and foremost, remember that we have three interests now. We have the interest of Fubara, we have the interest of our Wiki camp, and we also have the interest of the sole administrator. Remember, the sole administrator tenure was for 6 months. Remember, it can be extended, and it can be extended until the tenure of Fubara finishes.
Especially based on security concerns, much like this.
Right. And once there is a security problem that continues like this, it will be assumed that this is what's happening. And I can tell you, it may not be Fubara, camp. It may be other camp, right, that's actually causing the mayhem, so that it can be. And that's why our president must also come clean in this case. It must not be seen, bias or what have you. You must be objective. And those people that are there as well, the current administrator, should also be objective in looking at things. So I think if it is well policed, well managed, well armed, I think we can actually get people soft pedal. But I can tell you, I don't see it stop because of people's interest.
Now, Dr. Aliyu, following the declaration of state of emergency ruling in Rivers State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one of the things he had cited was the bombing of the oil pipeline in the state. Now, these statements were reiterated and also further emphasized by the Attorney General of the Federation, that many analysts have faulted, citing that it's not in his place to talk about or accuse the governor of being complicit in the pipeline vandalization, that it should be left to the security agencies to investigate on the matter, do their findings, file in a report, and report to the president. What are your thoughts on this channel of communication, and do you think that the Attorney General might have overstepped in his comments regarding suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara?
Right. I like to take it from the speech President Bola Ahmed Tinubu read the day he declared state of emergency in Cross River. You recall that even if you look at his speech was skewed towards putting all the blames on the governor. That the governor is this, the governor is that. It was not, for me, it was not objective enough to actually, look at it, because Fubara actually waited for Supreme Court. Supreme Court actually pronounced that he should go back and actually pay and do a lot of things. And he was calling the state assembly. They never give him. We have seen footage of where he actually went to the assembly and the door was actually shut. So for SCN Fagbemi, the Attorney General, to have come out and said, it is Fubara boys are actually doing it. That's the direction he actually went. Though we have seen a clip where Fubara also said, when it is time, we'll tell the boys on what to do. But even that is still a speculation. We expect such office that is well respected to do their findings. Even up to now, there is no findings that prove that it is the camp of Fubara actually. So that's our problem in Nigeria. We are quick to actually take a decision. And decision, it will also read meaning to it as a Nigerian, that this is skewed towards actually painting a particular person. In this case, painting Fubara are actually bad that is behind those things. So I think SN Fagbe should have gone deeper, and I also expect the Nigerian police to come out with their investigation because they are saddled with investigating. And according to them, they actually caught two suspects or what have you. They should give us their findings, and we will know that yes, this is the person that actually causing mayhem. Because, like I said earlier, that vandalization could come from any camp to paint the other camp actually bad.
Well, beyond the Nigeria police, what do you think the role of the DSS could have been in this entire situation? I mean, it's quite easy for them to investigate as well and find out if really those orders for the vandalization of the pipelines came from the governor, if they really wanted to. Don't you think so, Dr. Aliyu?
Right. Well, thank you so much. For me, I want to like pick on NSC DC because I think they are much more saddled with the responsibility of protecting our
national
pipelines.
assets.
So I'm telling you, so we should also even look their direction because in Nigeria today, we forget the major people we are supposed to, really call out to do things. I think it should be responsible for NSCDC.
Yeah.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should call the DG, the head, to come and explain why they allowed that to happen. Perhaps we know that area is volatile. So it's not that is what is happening is new. It's volatile, and we know that it usually happens. According to Mele Kyari, when he told us how many pipelines have been vandalized and actually tapped, it's mind-boggling. However, NSCDC and also DSS also have their own role. They do covert reportage, so they can actually go down and check.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I expect them to also do so. Our security agencies need to do more to actually tame all these things. They need to be proactive. Perhaps at this level we are today, I was thinking there should have been a kind of a scientific way of getting those that actually tap it. There's a way you can actually man those things electronically, that it will be at the comfort of your house and see whoever is touching anything in the pipeline. We should need to go to that direction.
Dr. Aliyu, in this entire conversation, there is a certain set of individuals that we might have been relegating to the background and not talking about them that much. The aggrieved Ijaw people. What can be done to salvage the situation? Because they have cried out, they have complained. For the first time in the history of the Ijaw people, they have produced the governor in River State, and yet this sort of incidents befalls their governor, their son, and one of them. Is there any way that perhaps the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu could act in such a way that will salvage the situation and make the Ijaw people not feel neglected or relegated to the background?
In as much as I do not appreciate that we are trying to ethnicize or ethnicize the issue, I don't want to agree with that because if we start going to that route, it will cause a lot of problem. Were they there when was the job people consulted when Wiki along his team decided to give power to Fubara? I'm not sure there is a consultation to that effect. And this what actually happens is a political problem that needs the political solution. Sometimes even most of our ethnic add to our problems because they will tell you don't agree, do this, do that. Instead of them to be sincere and say, okay, Fubara, in as much as this man brings you in, why not cooperate to an extent? I can tell if they rein in on Fubara earlier, that Fubara, this is your godfather, take it or leave it. You just have to cooperate to an extent. Fubara, this state assembly, why not consider paying them? Fubara, this and that. So it is now they're actually now saying it is their son, it is that. No, it's a political issue. I think we should not go into that route because if we start doing that, in fact, some particular ethnic in Nigeria would not even agree. People like southeastern Nigeria that have never become president, they will start looking at it in that direction. People from northeast that have never become president, people like north central, we start looking at it from that perspective. It's a political issue. Let us get involved, and when it's come to your side, you take advantage of it. It's not bad to negotiate within the states. I think that's what they should do. That okay, let's do rotational. If an Ikwere man do this, and a Joma do this, and other ethnic part of it will also do it. So I don't think they should go in that route. I'm not in support of that.
Now, away from the situation in Rivers, let's look at another situation as it affects Nigeria. Whilst the Naira for crude deal has stalled, it may seem as though exporting is now the target of Dangote Refinery. In what has been dubbed a historic deal, the U.S. has, patronized Dangote to the tune of 2 million barrels of jet fuel. We're also hearing reports this morning that Saudi Arabia is about to follow suit, and they're also lining up to patronize Dangote Refinery. It's a topsy-turvy situation, national interest versus profit interest of a businessman. Let's get your thoughts.
Right. So right from the beginning, I think on in this your beautiful studio, I've actually reiterated it that oil business is a global business. You cannot cage Dangote except you have interest. And the question we should be raising now, the first question we should be raising is that at the earlier stage, we said we didn't have 20%. Do we still have 20%? At the point they said it's 7%. Do we still have 7%? Because if we have 20% or 7%, as the case may be, let's maximize that and allow Dangote to trade globally. And that's why in this your studio as well, I've also argued that they should not stop importation to Nigeria. You know why? When there's no importation, there will not be competition. Because even the NNPCL cannot even give us 5% of what we need daily through their through refinery that is working. So it will become Dangote's affair, which we are scared of a monopoly. Now, Dangote is exporting to a country that have 158 refinery. That is the US. Dangote is about to export to Saudi Arabia that have almighty Saudi Aramco and also have about 5 refineries. So then what stop Nigerians from also importing? Now we have issue of Naira for crude for Naira and what have you. Dangote is a businessman who want to make profits. So you cannot cage him for a global product like oil, in oil sector. All you need to do is that fight for your interest and let your interest be really accepted by Dangote. So for me, I think we have to go back to negotiating table with Dangote because Dangote is having the upper hand now, and I don't think there's anything we can do. With time, Dangote will be monopolized and will have to determine everything. So I think NP said now need to go to Dangote now and said, please, this is the state we actually wanted. How do you solve this problem for us? How do we manage together? Because Dangote is profit oriented and you can't stop him. He actually borrow money to actually build the factory. You need to repay the money and whatever. So all we need to do is that where is our 20%? Where's our 7%? How can we maximize it that will benefit Nigeria? So if we now say, okay, this is my 20%, this is how I want it, this is how we want to use Naira to buy it, you can say any other thing the way you want to say. Perhaps I also appeal to Dangote.
Yeah.
Dangote should start to consider Nigeria as its a first point of interest. It's because Nigeria is at this level that you are able to do what we are doing. But if you also go back to what we're experiencing in cement, we discover that in the long run, Dangote will have his say, not only say, he will also have its way. So the NNPCL need, because we believe they should fight for our interests, they need to go on negotiating table and also encourage other people that are coming up with their refinery. So I think Dangote need to be appealed to.
Well, Dr. Aliyu, we might deviate a little bit, but still staying with Dangote Refinery and NNPCL, but talks surrounding the Naira for crude deal, which has now ended 6 months after. However, some analysts, much like yourself, and economists, have, faulted the federal government alongside the NNPCL for not restarting the conversation surrounding that deal prior to the expiration of the deal. And why did they allow the deal to elapse before now starting off the talks? In fact, the negotiations have not properly kicked off. They are still back and forth as to whether or not the deal will be reignited or not. And that deal has actually helped a lot of Nigerians to a great deal to get petroleum products at much cheaper rates. What are your thoughts? And do you think that maybe beyond just short-termed deals, this Naira for crude deal could be a long-term thing for Dangote Refinery?
Well, the disposition of the federal government exposes their lackadaisical attitude towards matters of taste, I should say. Because as an NPCL, what is your responsibility? You are expected to forecast. You know, that's part of their department. You have to forecast what will happen next 2 months, next 3 months, 1 year, 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to build everything. And how will you, in fact, that's silence is an answer. For me, that means they actually do not want Naira for crude. Because if not, why not come to negotiations table a month before, 3 weeks before, 3 months before, and have a negotiation? I think they have their own motive of actually carrying out this. And that's why I would also like to call on Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Remember, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is still the Minister of Petroleum.
Yeah.
So I want to put it in his table. Even you have a special essay that will be alerting him on what to do next. Because it's actually his pronunciation, his pronouncement rather, of first subsidy is gone that brought us to this level. And up till now, there's no solution at hand for that. So for us, they should go back to discuss Naira for crude, because that's what will be better for Nigerians and our marketers as well. Because remember, Dangote also took our marketers to court that they should not import.
Yes.
And I don't know how we're
And,
going to
and
do
they
it. But
have
for
been
me,
fighting hard that they want to import even at a higher cost, which to this
I
day,
want-
which to this day is a mystery that is yet to be solved.
right, you know, there's what we call economic of scale. You're only looking at it at higher cost. If it is at the level of economic of scale, I'm sure we would have a lesser price for our petroleum products in Nigeria.
Interesting.
Now, moving on to our final issue in the news this morning, it's on the amounts owed Nigeria, especially with electricity consumption from neighboring countries. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) has published its debt records, and we see $8.84 million owed by Togo and Benin Republic to Nigeria. Talking about being able to recoup some of this outstanding debts from neighboring countries who benefit more from our electricity whilst our national grid continues to be erratic at times. How do we revisit this conversation this morning?
Remember, we are big brother Africa. So when you say you are big brother, it also comes with prizes. So those countries are also looking at us as a big brother. In as much as we need to recoup our money, we just have to be strategic about it. So I think NERC should go ahead to recoup the money. Let's see how they'll bring a diplomatic arrangement, because it's going to be a diplomatic issue in the long run. They know how to settle it better.
Now, is this a question of prioritizing bilateral relationships over what many would say charity should begin at home? Because it beats my imagination that we continue to grapple with epileptic power supply whilst we look to extend a hand of fellowship or the big brotherhood to our neighbors.
Right. I think we must separate those two things. That Togo have continuously having a stable power supply. It's dint of their hard work by their president and their governments. That we do not have power in Nigeria stable, I think is our own fault, and we should take the responsibility. We have NERC for them to have put everything in place. So, and if you say grid collapse, does the grid collapse in their own country? The grid collapse in Nigeria. So it's a two different things, please. That we have erratic power supply, it's because of our lackadaisical attitude and our unserious nature. Or would I call it nature now? Because it is unseriousness that will bring about erratic power supply. So it's a two different things, please.
All right, Dr. Aliyu Ilias, we must thank you so much. This has been a very interesting conversation with you here on Morning Express. Hoping to have you join us again next time for more broader and in-depth conversations. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Good morning.
All right.